Hello, this is Victor. I'm here with a new unit in Death kit looking at the Chaos Space Marine Codex, and now it's time for a heavy support choice, the Obliterators. Let's start looking at the unit. So for 70 points, you have an Obliterator that have weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 4, strength 4, toughness 4, 2 wounds, initiative 4, 2 attacks, leadership 8, 2 plus armor save. Is an infantry type of unit. So here we see that it's like Space Marines with an additional wound and an additional attack. War Gear, Flesh Metal is the one that gives 2 plus armor save and Power Fist. So it's a good weapon for close combat. Special rules is bulky, is a demon, so have 5 plus invulnerable save and cause fear. Deep Strike, have obliterator weapons, slow and push powerful, and then as options we can up to two obliterators for 70 points per model. They can take marks, corn 4 points, Thench 8 points, Nurgle 6 points, Slanish 1 point, and they can take veterans of the Long War. So let's make first a rule to the Obliterator weapons special rule. So in each of your shooting phases, you must choose what weapon the obliterators in the unit will fire from the following list. And then you have Assault Cannon, Heavy Flamer, Last Cannon, Multi-Melta, Plasma Cannon, Twin-Link Flamer, Twin-Link Melta Gun, and Twin-Link Plasma Gun. Every obliterator in the unit must fire the same weapon. An obliterator unit cannot choose to fire the same weapon in two of your consecutive shooting phases. So clearly, this is a shooting is a unit that is basically a, a mixture between a shooting uh, unit and a Terminator. So it's like a shooting Terminator, is the evolution of the tactical Terminator. Why I say that? Well, it have the same profile in terms of armor, have the power fist in case you want to go into close combat, and on top you have better choices on the weapon. So, but to be fair, I think the power fist should be the last of your resources. As you don't want to get them in close combat, especially because any unit that goes in close combat with that debilitators will have good armors to shoot. So you want to use them as a shooting platform. So you want these are your shooting support, and you if you use your weapons in a clever way, they give a lot of flexibility and they give some nice shooting support. Of course, they are quite expensive. If you want to take three of them, it's 210 points without any mark. To be fair, I think the best mark that you can use with them is the Mark of Nurgle. You will increase the toughness to 5. They will make them more resilient and less susceptible to die by um, how it's called, to make benefit of the 2 wounds and not die by instant death. Mark of Saint is not a bad option, but I think it's too expensive for what is adding to the unit. 8 points, you move your save from 5 plus to 4 plus invulnerable save. Most of the covers will give that by default. The Mark of Corn, uh, it's adding an additional punch in the close combat. I don't think is what you want on the Obliterators. And the Mark of Slaanesh, I think, is useless on them. So really, this is a unit basically for a Nurgle army, or to use the Mark of Nurgle, or don't use any mark at all. I think this is also working well. You can give veterans of the Long War, especially if you play against Marines, and adding additional leadership is also interesting because unless I miss something, they don't have fearless special rule because demons give 5 plus invulnerable save and fear, but they don't give fearless unless there is a fact that I'm missing at this moment or something that I'm missing. So the other point is, yeah, they are. So let me explain. I think this is a good supporting unit for shooting. You have to avoid to put them in the middle of the shooting. They will not resist. Each time I use them and just as a how it's called as the spear lance as the attacking unit, they die. So they are not more resilient than Terminators. They have 2 wounds. I use them in units of 2 or units of 3. They are more or less like 5 Terminators in terms of shooting, or even less if they start being shot by last cannons or meltas. So don't expect them to be unkillable, because there is nothing unkillable in the army today. So use them in a good way, units of 2 to support your flanks, or put them in a place that they will not give a lot of returning fire, or in a place that they have a strategic situation. I think the best ways, and normally I try to use them, combine them. You have the last cannon. You can use combinations of last cannon and plasma cannons if you are in the distance. They can operate quite well in the distance of the 36 inches, from 36 to 24 inches, where they can avoid the most intense weapons of the enemy. And if you get very close, then is the moment to use the twin-link plasma gun or the twin-link melta gun. This will give them a good punch against vehicles. They can be a threat for any type of enemy units. They can threat vehicles. They can threat heavy infantry. They can threat even uh, or horse, no? Because they have any option and you can choose. You cannot repeat, so you have to be careful with that. But for example, you always can combine heavy flamer, twin link flamer, heavy flamer, twin link heavy, twin link flamer if you need it. You can also combine if you are more distant assault cannon. Next turn, use a heavy flamer, and let's see what you do later. But so there is ways to go around, and if you go against vehicles, then the best option is to be very close to be able to use the Meltagun, or in the long distances, try to use the last cannon. The deep strike is a thing that is combining quite well with them. Having the deep strike and being a shooting unit is a good combination. Normally, I have more problems when deep strike is combined with assault unit, because you're losing the turn that you arrive in. You cannot assault. You go into turn 3. If you use obliterators with deep strike, you lose the first turn, but in the second turn they will be on the battlefield, and you can position them in a good position in the second turn, especially if you can use any way to avoid or to minimize the the scatter when they arrive from the reserve. So you put them in a good position where they can do the shooting that you need it, or where you need the support. So it's a good way to minimize, because the drawback is they are slow and push powerful, so they are not going to be very fast moving. But you can minimize the impact of that by deploying them in the strategic position that you need them by deep strike. So, summarizing, use a unit of 2, 3 deep strike. Use them as a supporting unit for the bulk of your army. Again, is another supporting unit, and they are good, and they are included in most of the chaos armies because they add a lot of flexibility. They can deal with a lot of different threats. They can do important damage to different threats. If you can, yeah, take this lateral armor with a last cannon, it's easier to deal that if you go for the front armor. So this is why the deep strike is working that well with them. And if you have points, uh, the Mark of Norgel is the one that is combining the mark that is combining the best with obliterators. As you have seen when I'm reviewing most of the Chaos Space Marine units, really the Mark of Norgel is normally the best option, and in the case of the Assault, the Mark of Corn is also a good deal. I would say the Mark of Thames normally is too expensive for what they add. The Mark of Slaanesh, I think sometimes is always useless, or is too. Yeah, yeah, normally the benefit is not that needed unless it's really a close combat unit and you want this +1 initiative. And for that is all. I think it's one of the best units in the heavy support of the Chaos Space Marines. and is a unit that is almost present in any Chaos Space Marine army. That's all for now. Please comment, let me know how you use Obliterators, let me know if you fight against them, if how you fight against the Obliterators. Yes, leave your comment below, like if you like it. As usual, thanks a lot for watching, and see you again later. Bye.